Welcome to today's TAFE Talks. I'm Teresa Schmidt, Director of Policy and Governance at TAFE Directors Australia, and today's topic is Evolving Digital Learning for Strategic Impact at TAFE Queensland. I'd like to begin today by acknowledging the traditional owners of all the different lands upon which we're meeting. I'm coming to you today from Gubbi Gubbi country, and I would like to pay my respects to elders past and present, and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us in the discussion today. If you would like to introduce yourself and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that you're on, please feel free to do so in the chat. And so I'll say Wanya, welcome to you all. In today's session, we will explore how TAFE Queensland is strategically transforming digital learning to drive educational innovation and learner success. Let me begin by introducing Adobe, who is one of TDA's valued corporate affiliates. Joining us from Adobe is Jerry Wong, Senior Customer Success Manager, Digital Media ANZ Adobe. Jerry is a big advocate for driving engagement and adoption aligned to the digital literacy programs in education and digital transformation projects in government. Jerry has excellent focus on customer relationships and maintaining a high level of client satisfaction by proactively managing their expectations and aligning stakeholders. I'm going to now introduce you to our presenters today, Michelle Roberts and Sophie Nguyen from TAFE Queensland. We'll hear a little bit more from Jerry and Adobe shortly. But firstly, let me tell you about Michelle Roberts, who is the Principal Consultant, Product and Innovation at TAFE Queensland. Michelle has over 25 years of experience in vocational education and training and a thorough background across both public and private education and business sectors. In a current role, Michelle leads a learning management team focused on provisioning, quality assurance and continuous improvement across digital learning systems and processes. Previously, Michelle worked in learning and development, delivering and implementing a wide range of training programs across 11 campuses in Brisbane. Her career has spanned roles including instructional designer, vocational teacher, director of a registered training organisation, business owner-operator, content writer and an online program manager. Welcome to Michelle. Next, we have Sophie Nguyen, who is the Educational Team Leader, English Language and Migrant Education for TAFE Queensland, Brisbane. Sophie is an experienced leading vocational educator at the English Language and Migrant Education Faculty, TAFE Queensland. With over a decade of teaching and leadership experience in the vet sector, she is passionate about supporting adult learners from diverse migrant and refugee backgrounds. Sophie's work focuses on building language, digital literacy and employability skills through engaging real-world projects that empower students to thrive in their new communities. Now, before I hand over to Jerry, who will kick us off, I wanted to let you know that today's session is being recorded, and the recording will be made available to everyone who registered for this TAFE Talk session and on the TDA website. Closed captioning is also available for this event. If you have any questions that you would like to pose to our speakers today, please use the Q&A box throughout the session and we'll come back to those at the end. You can use the chat for discussion during this session, and there's a lot of you here today, so that chat might be quite busy. We won't be able to monitor that chat for questions, so please put your important questions into the Q&A function. So it now gives me great pleasure to hand over to Jerry Wong from Adobe to kick off today's discussion. Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Teresa. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a real privilege to be here with you today, speaking to the educators who are shaping the future of Queensland workforce through practical, purpose-driven learning. As many of you would know, TAFE Queensland is not only the largest and most experienced training provider in Queensland, they are also a vital part of how we build skills, careers, and communities. With over 140 years of service and over 60 campuses across the state, they are training over 125,000 students annually. And out of that, including 25,000 apprentices, 17,000 school-based students, and 7,000 international and thousands of First Nations and adult migrants learners. Their reach and impact at that scale and diversity is what makes the partnership between Adobe and TAFE Queensland so exciting. Together, we are working to embed Adobe Express into teaching and learning across disciplines from trades and business to creative industries and digital literacy. The goal is simple: to give educators like you the tools to help students communicate ideas, build portfolios, and tell their stories in ways that are engaging, accessible, and aligned with industry expectations. Using Adobe Express, Adobe Express, TAFE Queensland educators are creating on-brand teaching materials and assessment resources, helping students build digital portfolios and video content for real-world applications, and using shared libraries and templates to save time and scale best practice. So whether you're teaching trades, business, or creative industries, Express is helping bring ideas to life in ways that are accessible, industry relevant, and easy to use. And results are showing that over 85% of TAFE Queensland students are finding employment or going on to further study within 6 months after graduating. So in today's session, it's all about exploring how you can make a difference in your own teaching practices. So I'll pass on to Michelle and Sophie from TAFE Queensland.
Thank you, Jerry. And Teresa, thank you for the lovely introduction. I'll just bring my screen up. I've got sound. Okay, how's that? You can see the screen?
Perfect.
Perfect, lovely, thank you. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Today we're going to take you, I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on my particular journey in learning and development with Adobe. And then we're going to discuss a project that I've recently done with Sophie, who'll share her experiences as well. So initially, I'll talk about the evolving part of working with Adobe. So I started in learning and development in 2015. So there's a much younger version of me there. And I incidentally had a conversation with Kev Lavery on the right there. So if you're an Adobe person, you're probably aware of Dr. Tim Kitchen from Adobe. But Kev works at corporate. I'm in a region in the Brisbane region, and Kev told me about some opportunities with training that Adobe had on offer, and we essentially weren't taking advantage of those opportunities as part of the license that we have with Adobe. So I had that initial informal conversation, and then that's when Jerry came along. And Jerry, you're much younger there too, by the looks of things. So this has proved to be a really important relationship for TAFE Queensland, because I think essentially that kind of created the opening for lots of opportunities. And interestingly, in this photo, you'll see in the background here, we've got John Penn III. And John is one of our absolute favourites for students at TAFE Queensland. So he specialises in forensics, and has a specialty in trying to find or recover missing children from the dark web, so abused children. And I think what he potentially, having this is sort of a side to our normal PD that would be tool-based, the opportunities that Adobe bring in this way are quite interesting, because you'll have justice students come, you'll have community services students come along, and they make that connection because they're meeting someone that you wouldn't normally meet in your everyday life, and suddenly start to think of different career opportunities and potentially adding on those creative skills onto their traditional course. So it might be they've done community services, but they consider doing, say, Photoshop, or looking down a different pathway, but still staying in their industry. So that's been, I guess, an unexpected bonus of building that relationship with Adobe. So when I first started and found out about this license, I thought I would be able to provide staff with really quality PD. And I thought that they would be very interested in that PD. And it turned out they weren't. I think I initially went to the creative faculty, but I guess they already knew what they were doing with their software. They'd probably been using it for years in their industry. And I found it a little bit hard to kind of break through and essentially provide the opportunities that I thought would be worthwhile. So although I was quite excited by the opportunity of working with Adobe a little bit more closely, it really didn't come to play as quickly as I would have liked. But for what was about to happen, it was a really good foot in the door. So having that relationship proved really, really important. So whilst I was slowly navigating my way, I did a lot of professional development myself. So I went to, this is a picture in Sydney, to the Education Summit. And, you'll find at those events, there'll be lots of other TAFE people. There'll be people from Department of Ed as well, but you will find your counterparts amongst the attendees. And that's where I think it's quite valuable, because you'll get ideas coming from what they've been doing in the different states as well. And particularly for me, TAFE New South Wales, there were some really good operators. And I guess being in Sydney, there was more of them at that event. But it enabled me to build my general knowledge, not being having a creative background. I started to pick up a few more skills, but kind of understood what the different applications or who would use those different applications as we went along. So it shifted my thinking a little bit, and particularly using express pages like what I'm using now. And I'll go into that a little bit more as we move along the presentation. But it was really inspiring. And in this picture below on the right-hand side, that was I think a National Teachers' Day. And I, essentially, I won't say copy, I don't know if Jerry liked that, but I essentially took a lot of that practice that I learned in Sydney and then applied it back into our particular region. So that was really useful and quite interesting. So the big thing that changed for us at TAFE Queensland was definitely the big event that we're all aware of, so COVID. I think that was, although it was an incredibly challenging period, and for those of you who are in learning development or are educators, you'll know how we kind of had to turn quickly on our heels and operate differently overnight. Although there was lots of scrambling and lots of stress attached to that, I think it was a really, I'll say, wonderful experience, because a lot of educators that probably were a little bit hesitant or maybe even a little bit frightened about taking on new skills and adapting to virtual learning suddenly found themselves in a place where they had no choice. So we started to get more uptake on professional development because they had to understand how to operate online. People refreshed their practice, and the majority of staff, I think, were really found the situation more positive than what we expected. And I'll just show you a little quote from a staff member here on the bottom, this second quote. And I think it probably very plainly expresses the viewpoint where, total stress at the beginning, but then that challenge and that gaining that capability to essentially change their teaching practice and then help their students as well was turned out to be a much more positive experience than expected. So that was one positive aspect of COVID. And I like to say that because we had that foot in the door with Adobe, that was really vital in being able to offer staff professional development, that I think was essential to suddenly making their delivery more interesting, more engaging. It was definitely the staff that made that happen. So, a lot of kudos to the educators for jumping on board. So during that period, we had both, we're really going to focus shortly on the English second language faculty, but I just wanted to give you a really good example of a TAFE services staff member. So Deb Alice is one of our student loans coordinators. And she's someone who's often at professional development that we offer. She's always interested in new things, and she kind of took this to the next level, I think. I'd be interested to see what you think of her video. But she decided to create really short, sharp videos using animation that she'd picked up at a PD session, and convert those just to sort of get staff through really kind of small parts of a process, so they didn't have to watch a whole video. She based this on Bluey, so like that kind of informative talking to you style, and then used Adobe Express, a voice to animation and animal characters to bring that to life. She was really conscious of being inclusive and universal, so being non-gender biased so that people weren't offended by the characters that she used. And then, and just making it really fun to watch. So I'm just going to play you a very short snippet of one of Deb's videos. Let me make that bigger. Okay, let's.
Hi, Red. I don't know how much of my lifetime help loan limit I have used. Where do I go to find that out?
Hi, Bongo. Great question. All you need to do is log into the My Help Balance website at www.myhelpbalance.gov.au, select for students, and then key in your date of birth and USI to log in and find out how much help loan limit you have used.
So that's just a little example, and you'll see here that this background is at Skills Tech, so one of our trades areas in Queensland. And Deb has done a series of these videos with different characters, and also she's used different regions across Queensland to kind of make everyone feel inclusive of the work that they do, being a corporate team. So that was one example. And just keep in mind when I'm showing you this, often it's very simple software, and I'll give you an example of that, but I know people often say something's really easy, but Adobe Express, if you haven't used it, is quite simple software to use. So the staff loved Deb's videos, as you can see there. So some of the comments coming through, and I guess they just like the change of pace as well. I suppose it's a very you're working on the computer all day. It can be a bit arduous, I guess, working through all the student inquiries, and having that little bit of something different was something that the staff really liked. So that was an example on the TAFE services side. And I'll just bring you back to the COVID period. I just wanted to show you how important that relationship with Adobe was during that period. So here you can see semester 2, 2018, we had like a normal, so no COVID, a normal semester. So we're just starting to get into using Adobe. We had 6 sessions and 91 participants. Sem 2, 2019, we had 13 sessions and 187. But then you can see over that COVID period, so this, when COVID essentially came into play for us, we were able to offer 27 Adobe sessions, and this is on top of all the Zoom and Microsoft sessions and everything else that we offered in virtual. And you can see there, so I think the figures were we had 107% increase in sessions, and I think it was 263% increase in staff participation. So that is the real impact of COVID. And I think also we now see Adobe Express used across TAFE Queensland. So admin staff use it to present with, to share information like what I'm doing today, and educators present with Adobe Express as well. So it's made a big impact. And just to give you a bit of background into why essentially we decided to do a digital literacy project with AMEP, with our English language migrant area, you can see here from this diagram, you've got AMEP had the biggest uptake in the PD. So by far, you've got regions up here. So we had TAFE Queensland North, so Cairns, Townsville area, as a region as a whole, but as a particular industry group, AMEP, were really keen. And this is where I had a real shift in understanding who could potentially use Adobe Express and how the students could integrate that into their learning. So that brings us to today. So just to give you that little bit of past history. So I had done some work previously with Sophie, and she had Kev and myself come into her class, and we did some Adobe video work with the students. So Sophie was someone that I thought of immediately, and thankfully she said yes. And we decided to do a joint project in digital literacy within her particular cohort of students. So I really wanted to make the learning fun and engaging. I really wanted to hopefully build some creativity skills as well as digital literacy skills, so our standard kind of workforce skills. And the project started, it was a 10-week time frame. It was just recently in April and June. And the objective was to enhance digital literacy amongst ESL students by using Adobe Express. So the age group was quite interesting, especially for me. I had a new appreciation of what AMEP teachers. I guess the difference in ages is such a is more vast in AMEP than it is in other areas. So we had students that looked, but probably about 17 through to, they look like they were in their 80s. So a really interesting group of people. So 18 to 20 ESL students with immediate English proficiency, and Sophie will talk more about that. And the things that we provided was access to Adobe Express. So at TAFE Queensland, our students have access to Adobe Express as well as the teachers, which is a real plus. And technical support, tutorials, and computer access as well. So the outcomes that we hoped for, that we would increase their digital literacy skills, enhance their creativity, and align with workforce demand. So as most jobs are now require foundational digital skills. So that was the target. So the students who were migrants and refugees explored Adobe Express to create animated characters, video clips, and web pages. So the proficiency at which they went into, the way they went into every task and were able to quickly find their way around the software. Some of them were teaching me new things. It was it was a really incredible experience, and a really wonderful way to share stories. And essentially, that is, I guess, the way we started to move into AMEP, was because it was a great way for the immigrants to share their stories. So I'm going to just stop sharing this page for a moment before I go into the lesson plans. But the first one that we started the students on was teaching them how to do a web page, which is essentially what you're looking at now in this presentation. And some of you will be very proficient with Adobe, but for those of you that aren't, I have a colleague that keeps me honest. And every time I go, let's do this with the educators, I show her and she goes, no, oh yes. So I know she kind of keeps me real in making sure that the software is definitely easy to apply. So I'm just going to take you in and give you an example of that. So I'm going to create a web page. So I'll do something similar to what we did with AMEP. So I'm just going to go my story. I'm going to put my name in here. I'm going to add a photo. So I'm a golfer, so I'm just going to pick up a picture here. Okay, I won't be too fussy. Let me go that one. And then this is how easy it is. I only have this one option. I've got one cross to play with right now, which is wonderful. So I'm going to pick up a picture from that I've prepared. Okay, and I'm going to write my pets, or I'll go my pet. I don't have many options to play with again, which is nice. Okay, I have an English Bull Terrier named Bessie. And okay, let's do one more. I'm going to do a glide show. I'm going to go Greek food. And look at all these wonderful images that Adobe Express have. Let's pick up this one, save. And you have an option here of a cross. My favorite food is, I'll center that, and I'm going to go Greek. So that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to show you that how easy it is to publish this. So if I go, okay, yep, I can preview this and have a look and say, yep, I'm very, very happy with that. And all I have to do then is publish to the web. So I'm going to create a link. It's beautiful in the sense that you might see it's credited all the photos, so I don't have to worry about the copyright people coming and getting me. And then if I pop that link into the chat, that's how quickly that is online. So if I copy that link, I'll pop this on the end here. It's now a web page. So this is the type of thing that we did with the students, and Sophie will show you some examples. And then it kind of evolved into a portfolio of evidence for the students. So as we went along, we did our web page here, then we kind of added to it. We started with introducing ourselves, and then we added a few more things. Then I taught them how to do character animate. And then we did something which I didn't think possible, but the students were like duck to water. We worked in with Sophie's curriculum, and we had an exercise where we had two characters. So we had a person returning a laptop and the customer, and they did the script for the first person and the second person, and then we merged the videos all together. So not a simple task, but the outcome was really quite wonderful. So we also created a resume and cover letter to make sure that the students felt that it was, applicable, they were work ready. And then we created a hyperlink. So we did QR codes and linked their cover letters to their web pages that they had made. So some quite technical tasks that we did within that short period of time. The real challenges we had initially were logging onto Adobe Express. So we had to take them through the TAFE Queensland website and then out to get a registered account. So that was probably the most challenging in making sure students knew their email address, that they had their password, student number, that kind of thing. And also that we met the students' expectations. So initially, although they love to have fun and being creative, they definitely wanted to apply that to getting a job. And that's when I had a chat with Sophie, adapted the lesson plans, and then we had more of a shift to that work readiness. So now I'm going to hand over to my colleague Sophie, and she's going to talk to you about some of the students and their projects.
Thank you, Michelle. Hi, everyone. My name is Sophie Nguyen, and I have been with the leading vocational teachers, and now I'm the educational team leader with TAFE Queensland Brisbane. and I have been working with adult migrant English programs. And as Michelle mentioned, from April to June this year, my class, Joy, participated in the Adobe project together with Michelle. And we had, so over the 10 weeks period of time, we participated Adobe in the Adobe projects in our computer sections, which was 2 hours every week. And the class that term had 20 students coming from 12 different cultural backgrounds, and their ages range from 23 to 70, with very educational and digital literacy levels, as well as different interests. The only common factor for this cohort was their English proficiency level, which was at the post-beginner or pre-intermediate level. So, and then in the class time, the focus of the class was to teach the students how to develop their English oral communication skills, how to participate in transactional exchanges for in their daily life, to help them to settle in Australia. For example, if they want to, if they are unwell, they need to go to see the doctor, how to make appointment, how to describe the symptoms, or if there are problems in their house, how can they contact the tradies and have the conversations? And if they go shopping, how to negotiate with the shop assistants, or if they want to return an item they bought, so how can they ask for a refund or replacement? So, and so together with Michelle, so we decided, and then we realized that Adobe was totally new to all of the students. None of them had experience with Adobe before. So we decided to ease them into the project by guiding them in using Adobe Express to create basic web pages. And so today I'm going to show you some authentic pieces of work created by the students. So the first one is a web page created by Sher. So Sher is a student coming, he came from Afghanistan. And when he was in the class, he had been in Australia for several months. And he used to be the web designer in his country. And he was very keen, very motivated in learning digital literacy skills. He traveled a long way from his home to the class and always cut short his lunchtime to join the computer sections earlier so he can have more time with the project. And he picked up the skills much faster than we expected. And as you can see, he embedded in his page a YouTube video about Afghanistan, his home country. And also he created animated character and used his voice to introduce himself. So if we could play the video, please.
Okay, refresh that and I'll see if it will come up. Oh, here we go. Sorry, Soph.
It's okay.
We'll go to the next one, I think.
Yes.
I'm from Afghanistan, but I live in Australia, in Logan City.
Yes. And then here is another web page created by Angel. Angel was a marketing manager in Taiwan, and with her marketing background, she was thrilled when she was introduced to Adobe. So she spent quite some time explore the platform independently. And in her video introducing herself, she managed to include the music background without having us showing her how to do it. And then she said that it was really amazing because she compared with a similar task she did in her previous job. So with Adobe Express, it was much faster, and it was and then it was free. So, and then she said that in the future she hoped to find a job in the marketing field and definitely continue to use Adobe Express. And and then the next piece of work I would like to share with you was created by Nigisti, a beautiful student coming from Eritrea. So she used to be accountant in her country, and when she was in Australia in my class, she had been in Australia for 2 years. In the daytime, she attended the class, and then very early in the morning or late at night, she worked part-time as a cleaner. And but she was very motivated and always make sure that she attended the computer sections. And here is a video clip she created introducing herself.
My name is Mengisti. I am from Eritrea and I came to Australia before 2 years ago. Eritrea is a small country and found in East Africa. I enjoyed working with my friends and sing songs. To improve my English to speak with anyone fluently.
Yes. And so after the students were familiar with the platform, we gradually linked the Adobe projects with the unit they were learning in the class, which is transactional conversations. So here is a piece of work created by Rachel, our younger students. Rachel was 23 years old, coming from Syria, and then she created a transcript for the scenario when she was a customer who bought an item from the shop, but would like to bring it back to the shop to return and ask for a refund or replacement. And then she created about 16 different clips.
I bought this TV from 3 days ago, but when I bring it home, it didn't work probably. Can I return it?
Good morning. Oh, we are sorry for that. Do you have the receipt with you?
Yes, sure. I have the receipt. Just give me a moment.
Thanks. Let me check our system.
Of course, no problem.
So, and then when they created all that, they need to make sure that they had to meet all of the requirements for the curriculum. For example, they need to make sure that their transcripts included all of the language features required. For example, different verb tenses, phrasal verbs, modal verbs, and then they pick that up so quickly, and Rachel really enjoyed it, and then she thought that it was really cool and fun to be able to create that kind of video. And then some of the students in the class were actively looking for a part-time jobs and asked us whether they could use Adobe Express to support their job applications. So that was when they were introduced to some of the resume templates in the platform. And then here is an example of a resume created by Greg, a Chinese software engineer. So so overall, at the end of the term, the students provided very positive feedback on the projects, and they believe that their digital literacy skills improved significantly, and then and also it linked to what they learned in the class and have with their jobs applications, and I think more importantly is also create inspire them to explore more in their own time, to pick up more digital literacy skills, because they realize that the digital literacy skills could help them with their English learnings and also vocational studies and lifelong journey of learning. And then particularly, it's very important for the migrant and refugee students to pick up the digital literacy skill because it's very important employability skills in Australia. And overall, they really enjoy creating web pages, creating resume, and animated characters, and enjoying mixing and merging video clips, and creating QR codes, and showing the web pages to their friends. They think that is really cool. So thank you for this opportunity. It was a great fun to work with Michelle and doing this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. Okay, I'll just play you a snapshot of the project overall. So just bear with me. I'm on the big screen. So I, of course, had them all preloaded so you wouldn't have to wait. Let's just... refresh that page.
This video demonstrates how Adobe tools are being integrated into teaching with a particular focus on their impact in the Adult and Migrant English Program. The Adobe Digital Capability Project aims to boost learners' digital literacy.
For this term, I have been with a level 2 AMEP class, and they come from 12, 13 countries, and then also various educational backgrounds.
I wanted to see firsthand because my role involves going out and observing, doing learner engagement observations with our new educators. And recently I've gone to a lot of the English language teachers. I've been sitting in a lot of their classes, and when I've been giving feedback to the teachers, we've talked a lot about how we can embed new projects and new ideas into delivery.
From the feedback I got from the students and then from my observations, I can see that they were very much engaged and motivated throughout the term.
So to see them actually be able to work with the software so quickly, and they were enjoying it, and that's what it's all about. Learning is better when it's fun.
So digital literacy skill is a big employability skills in Australia, so it's very important for migrant and refugee students to obtain those skills.
How have your digital literacy skills or your computer skills, have they improved during this project?
Yes, I really improved.
Fantastic application, Adobe Express.
Adobe software is very useful because you can easily learn something.
I think Adobe Express and create a resume and animation and QR code is so good for me. Yes, and useful.
Very easy to use, and I can make a website and poster.
You can use that to make your own web page, or you even can do your CV.
Their proficiency with technology has far exceeded expectations, demonstrating the effectiveness of the Digital Literacy Project. This initiative has not only embraced their digital literacy, but also empowered them to confidently navigate and utilise digital tools into their studies.
Last but not least is to build their confidence and curiosity to explore further in their own time, to engage, to inspire them to develop the independent learning skills themselves.
It was great fun, and I got so much from it, and hopefully I can share that across TAFE with teachers on different campuses who maybe hadn't had the opportunity to see it firsthand, or even hear her firsthand from Sophie how it went.
So let me just take you to our last slide. So basically, when we look towards the future, we will do business as usual. We'll offer lots of tools training with Adobe. So those specialist areas for the creatives might be, for instance, Photoshop. Across the organisation, Express is an application that everybody can use. But post this particular project, Sophie and I, and Vicky, thank you, Vicky, who came and got excited in the project and has taken that out to other educators. We will roll out further training sessions about upskilling staff and then enabling them to work with their students as well. So it will definitely have an impact. We've got an idea that if anyone knows English second language faculty, what we love is always food. So International Food Days, Harmony Days, there's always people bringing in delightful dishes. So maybe, you know, we're going to try and get them to use Adobe to get the students to advertise those days as well. And we'll embed that digital practice into our new educator training that we do at TAFE Queensland, and hopefully hopefully kind of share that information further of the outcomes of the project. So I think we're right on time, Teresa. So we thank you very much. And I just wanted to say a big thank you to Dan Housen and Mickey Ward, who did the filming and the creation of that video. We're very grateful for that help as well.
Thanks, Michelle and Sophie, for that fantastic presentation. I think you've got lots of high fives and kudos coming through. So there's a few questions as well. One reflection that comes through is this emphasis on developing digital literacy skills alongside the English language skills, which are just so important for employability. You know, we've been, and also for participating in our society, everything requires the understanding of digital skills. So it seems to be a very successful endeavour there. Now, we did have a few questions, and so if there's a few people that have just put some questions in the chat. If you want those answered, pop them into the Q&A. A few easy ones and a few that Jerry has already answered. So Tam has asked, will the video of vet fee help or the video of the fee help using animation be available? So that was the video that you showed earlier on that had been made available.
If you're TAFE Queensland, yes, yeah, get in contact with me and I'll point you in the right direction. Thank you.
Yeah, so that was an internal video done by
yes.
Queensland for their students, but
that's right.
Nothing stopping other jurisdictions for doing something similar.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, can you incorporate real-time quiz and feedback into this?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, not as part of Adobe, but what we do and love doing is creating a form in Microsoft Forms and then getting the QR code, embedding that into the Express page. So either doing that live in class or doing it as a reflection piece. So get them to, you know, complete that survey after class, you know, seeing if there was any gaps in the learning for the next session. So yeah, not so much, sorry, Jerry, I can't promote Adobe there, but definitely Microsoft Forms is a favorite. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Michelle. I'll just go to this one about privacy. So Heather's asking about privacy, how you control that, especially with the web pages, you know, with stories and your EAL students. So any thoughts on that?
So we had to get special permission from the Department of Home Affairs to play you the video today. You'll see we redacted some of the information on the resumes. So we have been, we've got permissions from all the students, so they've all signed indemnity. So in this instance, but you can make, you've got settings on the web pages, so you can just share with whoever you want to and only they can see the link, or you can make the links public. So there are different settings there that you can apply.
Thanks, Michelle. Now we've got a couple of questions about assessment. So how do we make this assessment? So for example, can you download the assessment evidence like videos, etc.? Can you upload them to an LMS? How do you deal with that need to retain your assessment evidence?
It would be just a link. You would just put that web link like I did in the chat. and that would link to that page. And that, if it say it was a portfolio of evidence, so you know, it might be, I don't know, you're doing architecture or building design, and you're taking pictures and adding to that portfolio and discussing it in class, that type of thing. So yeah, it's essentially, it would be a link that the auditors would click on if you wanted the evidence.
Thanks, Michelle. Now, Jerry, this one might be for you. It's about where the web pages are created. Are they hosted by, so the web pages, if they're created, where are they hosted? Are they hosted by Adobe or
Yes, so they are hosted on the Adobe, part of the Creative Cloud, basically. And the user has full control on the distribution of the page. I mean, obviously, if they send a URL, people can still use it. And at any time, they can unpublish, and that access is cut off. So, yeah, access is totally in their control.
Thank you. Okay, now here's another tricky question. How well, and this might require both of you or three of you, how well does Adobe Express work with Microsoft Teams, the benefits versus PowerPoint for lesson creation? So that's a little bit more of an expanded question there, I think.
I can answer that because I love Express in the sense that say I went right now, you know, that link I put in, and I wanted to add that my favorite exercise is walking the dog. I could do that right now, and anyone who has that link gets that updated information when they open it. I don't have to resend my PowerPoint out. So I personally think Express is far easier to use than PowerPoint. Doesn't mean I don't use PowerPoint, but 95% of the time I'd go towards Express for ease of use. And I think it's just so visual. I can link out to videos, I can link out to web pages. I just think it's it's just a more engaging platform to use. So fine in Teams, yeah.
Right, thanks, Michelle. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you, we've got many people on this call today who are looking at obviously implementing this. The questions that we're seeing means that, you know, people are really interested. Where do you think they should start? So if they want to integrate this Adobe Express into their teaching area, what do you suggest they start with?
I think go to your learning and development team, ask them if they're not running Adobe Express sessions. Like we run them for staff, but Adobe will also run them separately to TAFEs. So they'll have that kind of overarching PD, but we kind of like applying it because we know the educators and, you know, we know the work they're doing. But learning and development will be your first port of call. And then if they haven't got a relationship, then ask them to reach out to someone like Jerry, I guess, and Jerry could put them in the right direction.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, Jerry's very happy to put people into the right direction so they know what to do and how to access the Adobe product. And this is something that's related to that question, I guess. So this is about helping students upskill, and so they need access to do this. So I guess that access is dependent upon your licensing and those kinds of factors, are they, Jerry?
Definitely, and we do have a team, like we have the Adobe Education team as well, that can actually help with these, I suppose, lesson plans, curriculum integration, etc. So yeah, reach out to your Adobe rep, and we'll definitely help you out.
Great, thank you. Look, I think we've got time for just one more question, and this is about the challenges. So you had many different students in your group, and from different backgrounds, different kinds of digital literacy levels. And I'm thinking about the people here today who are thinking about implementing this into their classrooms. How did you overcome some of that varying digital literacy skill level?
Yeah, so maybe I can answer that questions. Yes, so we first of all, those sections were very hands-on sections with Michelle and I being in the class and very active, you know, guiding the students. And also, I usually set up the technology committees in my English class, where I would ask some of the students who are very IT savvy to volunteer to be on the committee, and I pair them up with the students who are a little bit weaker in literacy skills, so they can help each other. And by doing that, we can develop another employability skills, which is teamwork as well. And it has been working very well in all of the classes. Yeah. Thank you.
So on that then, something that's maybe a little related to for people who are trying to implement this in the future, what accessibility considerations would you suggest? This is for Sophie or Michelle. So thinking about accessibility, did you have any accessibility issues that you thought, or considerations that you had to implement? One I thought of might be alternate text for some of the images, or does that automatically populate? Anything, any suggestions, Michelle?
You're probably a better place to answer that question. We didn't have any considerations because for this particular project, because Sophie had the class previously. So we were more so concerned about, I guess, their computer skills rather than the accessibility issue. So yeah, in this particular case, didn't come into play.
Okay, thanks. Something that we might have to investigate later. Luckily, you had a cohort that you understood the needs of, but if you had a cohort that, yes, accessibility is always something that we would consider in implementing any new software or products. So, and look, lastly, do you think that Adobe could be used to improve pronunciation for speaking? I know it's probably not this software, but any thoughts on that?
Sophie, did you want to answer that one?
Yeah, so we use let the students in terms of pronunciation. So we let the students to use some another apps, which is not Adobe, sorry, Jerry, to practice that. And then, so when they are quite fluent, so they can, record their voices with the animated characters. And yeah, so that is what we did. So, but in the future, maybe we may explore more to see whether we can use Adobe to target pronunciation. Yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah.
Thanks, Sophie. I did think, yes, those videos that you were doing, it did occur to me as we were watching the videos that even that process is a way of improving pronunciation, isn't it? Because you have that interaction and then you get to play it back, and you could even see progress. So yes, that's very useful. Thank you. Now, that's probably about time, because we really need to save some time to say a really huge thank you to Jerry from Adobe and to Michelle and Sophie from TAFE Queensland. That was a fantastic presentation today, very insightful, very practical, and I think we're going to see many people putting some practical strategies in place into their class. So I hope you found it as interesting as I did, and thank you to the audience for your participation and questions. That always helps. Our next presentation, our next TAFE Talks, is Seizing the Moment, the Power of TAFE to Lead Australia's Digital and AI Opportunity with ReadyTech. Now, that's on the 27th of August at 2 p.m, and I hope that you will be able to join me for that one. But thank you again to Adobe and Jerry, Sophie, Michelle from TAFE Queensland, and thank you to your audience. Well done, and hope you have a great day. Thank you, everybody.